Stava a succedere nel bordello.
All right, what's going on, folks? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the Bordello. I'm Sam Adamo. I'm joined by a couple of very esteemed guests. I'm excited for this one. We're not solo. We're down here in New York. What we're trying to do is we're trying to, we're trying to make. I'm in desperate search of connection, and you've helped me to that effect, Alex Carabaño.
What up?
Welcome back on the show. It's been a year.
Yeah.
And since we met a year ago, you've been trying to get on. You've been trying to connect me with the guest to my left.
Amazing.
Mr. Gabriel Ferrari. I appreciate it very much.
What up?
Gabriel, what's up, man? You have a very baritone voice. You're going to dominate the fuck out of us right now. You can't hear it because you don't have the headphones on. I do. I know this is a very weird optical look right now with me holding the I feel like a lead fucking member of like a Roman legion, like with a spear or something now with this.
I don't want to say the wrong thing. You just go, fucking knock me out.
So why don't we just get into everyone's background here? You're a very interesting guy. We were kind of going back and forth for a while, getting this whole thing set up, and we were getting into stories that, I don't know. We were saying, you know what? Let's not get too into this right now. This feels like interesting pod talk, but. I didn't realize how interesting you actually are. I thought we just might be getting, because, I'd only seen, I'd seen highlights of you on YouTube from 13 years ago that I looked up. I read a little bit about you, and then Alex, raved about you as a guy, and that's all I based it off of.
So sweet, Alex. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I know nothing of what you've been up to lately. So you're going on about all these fucking crazy things you have going on, and you might be the most interesting man in football right now, and you're not even in football anymore. I mean, you kind of are as a coach. We can get into that a little bit. But you were talking about how you have a bunch of crazy stories. You used to play for Sampdoria.
Yes, sir.
In Italy. And you were, I think, at one point, one of the only Americans in Serie A on a contract, if not the only one.
Correct. That is true. This was in 2006, 2007-ish. And I basically left New York. And there's a whole story with that process of me leaving New York. But I had a full scholarship to go to UConn as well. I was like in high school and whatnot. So it was kind of like, what do I do? Go to college?
Most guys go to college, right?
Exactly. But,
so to not do that would have been kind of weird.
Most guys, but I saw that, there was an opportunity to live in Europe, which to me is personally more interesting than 4 years in Connecticut, to be honest, going to UConn. So I had an opportunity. There was an agent in Italy that saw, a little highlight reel of me playing in the Red Bull Academy here in New York and my high school, which was in New Jersey. So basically he said, come to Europe and try out. I went to Holland first. It was an Italian agent, but he had connections in Holland. So I went to a team called Vitesse, which is in Arnhem. And after about a week, they wanted to sign me there. This is with the U20s. I was 17 years old. So you train with like the reserves, right?
Sure.
And they offered me a contract. So the agent was like, oh, well, if you're getting a contract offered by Vitesse, let's take you to Ajax. So I go to Ajax maybe a week later, and I'm there for like 3 weeks. And they offer me a contract as well. And that's something that, was like, I look at crossroads in my life and decisions made, and sometimes I kind of like regret not staying in Amsterdam and playing for Ajax. But long story short, I got injured in a game against Sparta Prague. Ajax against Sparta Prague.
In a youth league game.
It's a friendly game that happened in Amsterdam.
So you're on trial.
I'm on trial. Friendly game happens. Exactly.
So you got the jersey on and everything.
Somebody fouled you?
It was me falling on the floor, and my wrist, I broke a bone in my wrist, a scaphoid bone, which is a long bone to heal.
Okay. But that's not the end of the world. It's not.
But that happened during the game. But the reason why I bring that up is because after that game, which I scored 1-1 tie against Sparta Prague.
Got him.
Right, representing New York.
Say less.
So after that game, I'm like, shit, my wrist hurts. And I get an x-ray done, and I break my bone. And at that point, Ajax is like, all right, listen, you want to stay here? We're going to offer you 1,000 euros a month, and you're going to be living here, this and that. And my agent was like, no, you deserve more, as a typical Italian guy, ambitious and wanting too much. And me and my father in the meeting looking at each other like, dude, Ajax is pretty good. You know what I mean? I don't know. But he was like, hey, we take you to Sampdoria and they're going to treat you right. I was like, say less.
Yeah.
Right.
So we go to Sampdoria and I'm over there with a little wrist thing on just to protect. And they see that and they're like, dude, you can't try out here if you're injured. And I was like, what? And they were like,
it's a whole bureaucratic thing.
It's a liability issue and whatnot.
It's a whole thing with Italian bureaucracy.
And the coach actually was Attilio Lombardo, which was a champion in Serie A in the early 90s with Sampdoria when Mancini played there, when I believe it was Gullit played there as well, and Seedorf also played in Sampdoria in the early 90s. So Attilio Lombardo was the coach of the Primavera at that time, which is the reserves.
Yeah.
And they said, listen, you got to get your ass back to New York and do a surgery or something. And then when you're ready, you could come back here. And I was like, fuck, bro. Serious? And at that point,
were you not horrified and said, I'm going back to Ajax, or had you already said no to them?
Already said no. My agent already burned that bridge with his arrogance, let's say. He had a player there at that moment, Sami Kufur, which was I believe he was a Ghanaian defender. So he already had like issues with Ajax because of the way they were treating his guy. So he kind of was on bad terms with them.
You don't want an Italian guy with a vendetta repping you, but if he's your only in.
Exactly. So then I have to come back to New York, and I'm like, dude, I was like basically about to like sign with European teams, and now I have to go back to New York. And when I come back here,
I did his surgery. Imagine.
I do the surgery, and at that point, most of the people here are like, "Yo, he didn't make it, bro. You're back over here." So,
and you're that guy with the story who says, "I would have signed."
Yeah,
exactly.
But it was there was a technicality. You know, there's a lot of guys with that story though that do come back from forays abroad, albeit not with clubs at that high a level. But I played with guys who almost got signed by Guingamp or whatever, but there was too it was too complicated because there's a rule on how many foreign guys they have, and the guy didn't have he didn't have his paperwork. He was Algerian. He thought that would get him in, but he can't get a French passport because he's from Canada. There's a lot of guys with that story, but again, we kind of all. In that world, we're all like, another one of those. But in your case, it was
but
there was a legitimate grievance.
Right, exactly. So I get my surgery done, and I have a cast on, and this is in the summer of, I want to say 2006 maybe.
I feel like I remember when you come to the Pier 40 or like
exactly
being around
this
with
this is where you come into play, because at that moment, I was going to St. Benedict's Prep, which is a super really like soccer entity. It's like a Tab Ramos went there, Claudio Reyna went there. A good friend of ours, Jose Angulo, went there with me, who also played pro. It's a powerhouse in the tri-state area, probably in the United States. But they were like, dude, you're not coming back here. You refused a full scholarship to UConn. They didn't like that I did that I went to Europe and tried out. So they were like, you're not coming back to this school. So I had that door closed.
They treated you, right.
They gave me the cold shoulder. So I go to West Side High over there in I believe it was not Spanish Harlem, but like in Harlem, and I got my high school diploma there. And in those 6 weeks, I have to train by myself. I have to keep in shape because I know I'm going back to Sampdoria. And I lived in Hell's Kitchen on 51st and 10th. I would run from Hell's Kitchen from my house on the West Side Highway to Pier 40 every day. And this is where my boy Alex comes into play, and the whole community and the whole ecosystem that was like the soccer in Pier 40. Guys from all over the place, from Brazil, Colombia, European countries. And I would go and play pickup games the whole day. Yeah. And that was my preparation for those 6 weeks to go back to Europe. So these pickup games were high level, man. These guys were ballers, as Alex included, technical player, you know what I mean? So it was something that made me get ready to go to Europe. And that was something that is very atypical for somebody that's going to go try out for big Serie A teams. And they're saying, I'm getting ready with some pickup games with my boys.
Yeah. Pier 40 was like they had a rooftop, but it was on a pier, and it was this fucking dope field. Like,
still
I don't
there, right?
It's still there. Yeah. Go down Houston, just go all the way down Houston down the West Side Highway. It's still there.
I don't like the way you guys pronounce that, by the way.
Which one?
Houston or Houston?
Houston.
It's Houston in New York.
Man, come on now.
Come on,
so
bro.
so douchey. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, you are playing with men, which is good. If you're a kid, it's one thing to kind of train with your U19 team or with other guys who are your age at your level of physique. But are you a little older than Gabriel?
Yeah, for sure.
So you were a grown ass man.
Yeah, I was already I was playing in the Cosmo D1 League with a team called Rovers, but I was already I didn't care. I was smoking weed, but I would go to the competitive games because I knew guys like him, and they were also mad cool. Like we're all from New York or Jersey. Yeah. We'd all hang out, we'd chill, we'd bug out, and there was an interesting, cool fucking group there, and we had some nice games. And he would, when this guy would show up, he'd fucking fly past. You could see the difference in training. We're like, all right, everybody's good here, but this motherfucker's like
you were
Superman.
sharper.
Yeah.
But again, you know, there probably is some value to having played with like grown guys who are a little more rough, and but also, you know, who have a certain level to them. Sometimes I see games taking place in, like, you know, I saw this one game in Angola the other day on the internet. There are great pickup games and great technical players in all all over the fucking world. I'm sure there's a bunch of Brazilians who, you know, don't make it through the cracks, or who fall through the cracks, I should say, who don't make it through, who fall through the cracks, and who don't wind up, you know, taking part in football at any, like, you know, serious level of infrastructure. But there are guys with, you know, real talent that exist all over the fucking place. Totally. You know, you probably have seen that. Right? You were talking about you have a place in Brazil and you go back there now and you coach a little bit. How many guys just from your little town do you think probably could hypothetically play, like, you know, in a first or second division, you know, league somewhere in Europe, you know?
Totally. There's, I mean, South America is equivalent to what basketball is in New York, and like the amount of like people are playing basketball, and just every street you go to, there's a basketball court. Well, in South America and Brazil and Colombia, these places, there's a futsal field everywhere. There's some kid or some guy there that you look at and you're like, dude, this is the real deal right here. But obviously, because of lack of resources, sometimes lack of motivation, also lack of many things.
Discipline. Exactly,
discipline. They end up just staying right there, and they never have that chance. But I have to say, as I've been living in Brazil for the past 6 years and coaching there as well.
Your mom is Brazilian.
My mom
right?
is Brazilian.
We should probably say that. Yeah. So your dad's a New York Italian.
Yes, sir.
Hence the connection to Italy.
His dad would show up mad funny, yelling at everybody, like coaching basically, yelling at him. But he was a cool guy, man. He was funny as fuck.
Yeah, he's a guy. He played as well, but he's basically my sensei. Let's say he's a guy that taught me the game and guided me throughout the whole process. So
you were talking about Brazil. I cut you off. Yeah.
No
so you're back and forth. You know, you've been back and forth for a little while. Actually, to be fair, you said that you don't really come back to New York that much anymore. You've been around for I guess a few months now, but it's the first time in a while.
I've been back for 6 months. I was living in Brazil for the past 6 years. I bought a house over there, and
so what do you see down there in terms of just, you know, guys
of a certain level and guys
once. And I did not visit New York once, and I can't say
Smart
I was
guy.
missing it either. To be
Smart
honest
guy,
with you,
smart guy.
Because this cold is not the right one right now. It's
well, it's funny you say that because I think there's something about being a New Yorker. You are a New York guy. You come back and you're like, you're telling me about, you know, I'm a New Yorker through and through. You know, I think I'm almost quoting you like an hour ago. It's yeah.
We have this.
It is baked into you.
It is, exactly. There's this thing where we have this level of arrogance as New Yorkers that we think the world revolves around.
So many New Yorkers in Florida. I met a bunch of them 2 months ago when I was in Miami, and they're still like, it's like New York 2.0.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This fucking sucks. You know, fucking bagels suck down here. It's like,
they always make fun of the bagels. The water.
Fucking Cuomo. I gotta come down here. Fuck, it sucks. Sucks up there, and I come down here. We can't fucking eat. It's like, you know, there's this like innate, like there's this built-in thing where you're just complaining anywhere you are. But yeah, so you would see guys down in Brazil that probably have
exactly. So what I was
a
getting
certain
at is,
level,
but
don't. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you straight up that Brazilian soccer and the Brazilian way of playing, to me, is a bit antiquated, and the way they see the game and their adaptability to modern football is a bit like, you know, they're struggling to get in tune with what football is asking for nowadays. In my opinion,
how?
Because they're not. Maybe they don't have the same defensive work rate as other players around the world. They don't have the same tactical discipline as other players in the world. And they were always reliant on talent and kind of like individuality, where in modern football, I think that's becoming less and less of a thing that wins you championships. It's more of a team-oriented game and very tactical, and coaching is super important, where I think in Brazil, all those elements weren't their forte.
Coaching.
And that's why
you don't think of coaching.
Exactly.
You don't think of coaching in Brazil.
Coach in Europe.
That's why they all fucking beef with their coaches, dude, because they're all just like, you're trying to fuck up my shit. They're all like Bohemians. They're like, you're fucking with my shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, they're like musicians. They're like, you know, I don't need the studio and the executive telling me what's good.
Right.
It's a lot of that. I don't need this guy telling me what I can and can't do. I know what, you know, I know what's good. I just want to chill, man. I just want to do my thing, man. It is interesting that you say that, because there's this like stereotypical idea of the Brazilian street baller, but it is how a lot of those guys do kind of, you know, learn to play. There isn't much infrastructure.
That's what I was going to say real quick. Like in Colombia, there's so much micro football, aka futsal. You know, you're playing that so much, but then you get to a big field. That field is huge. And all that little shit you're doing matters maybe when you're in the little corner, but they don't know how to use the space as much.
Right.
And I wonder if that's happens in Brazil as well.
That does. And even like I mean, futsal, let's be honest, though, that is the reason why Brazil is what it is as well in football, that technical ability.
the little flair.
Exactly. There's, like, futsal to me is, like, the main ingredient if you want to get football in your country kind of, like, better. I'd say that in America, it's starting now. I mean, it probably started a few years ago with futsal here, but that adaptability, that transition from like smaller field to bigger field definitely is something that is felt. Even just like your dribbles, right? Like, yeah, you could dribble a guy in the short space, but are you able to push that ball forward and beat him in a 10, 20-yard sprint?
Lift your head up and yeah,
totally
go 45
like
degrees.
Futsal should be a part of it.
Cross field, you know, open the play up.
Right.
Futsal should be a part of it, but it shouldn't be like that's all you're doing. Because then when you go on the big field, I play sometimes. Even now, I play in a competitive league, the Bowery D1 league sometimes, and I play with a lot of Latino guys, and I can tell they play a lot of small game. Because when we get to that big field, the passes are a little soft.
Right.
You know, they're good players. They're dribbling when it's like just. Bro, what are you doing? This field is huge. Like, we gotta get across the field quick.
I had the opposite issue. I never really played small side growing up. You know, there isn't that much of the. I'm from the suburbs in Canada, right?
Right.
From the suburbs of a large city, right? I wasn't an inner city player. Like
So you had grass fields, nice grass
yeah,
fields.
yeah. Well, I played intercity soccer. You know, what I mean, I wasn't an inner city guy who was playing in like a cage. You know,
Right,
inner city,
right,
not
right,
intercity, inner city. You know, I wasn't a guy who had like, you know, a limited amount of space to play with, and I wasn't playing like in a gym. You know, we would play on a field at school. So yeah, I don't know. I find I do well in space. I'm good at like crossing and pinging and I don't do a lot of, you know, I get out of space really simply. I don't complicate. It's funny how you kind of get influenced based on.
When you're not on the phone playing, you
where
definitely spread the ball nicely.
Alex has been roasting me.
Only because Chris made fun of you too, so I was like,
we played a week ago. I was on a call with someone with a professional opportunity, and I showed up at the field on the phone.
Yeah, that was amazing. He was running around
with my jacket, playing with my jacket on.
He was doing your thing.
I was doing better than you. You have I was telling Gabriel, you had the wrong shoe on your fucking left foot.
Show with the two wrong shoes.
No sleep.
I had one cleat, one.
You were wearing this flannel jacket.
Wearing pants. This dressed like I was.
I gave you a pass into space, and you looked at me like you're like, what are you doing? I was like, yeah,
like,
move into space. You were walking everywhere.
Like, I'm depressed right now, bro. I don't care about this.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Shout out to Marcelo. He came with us.
Marcelo
Hernandez.
Who thought I was a jerk off because I was talking on the phone. He's like, what's Sam doing?
Funny.
Look,
that game was goofy.
We'll play again. But right now you got a lot to prove because I believe you, but I've only heard stories from you and others.
I
got people vouching for you, and I got you vouching for yourself, saying I was really good. I still know what I'm doing. You were that guy. You're that guy. You're that guy we're talking about. Who always had an excuse. So far, my one time seeing you was you off a cold, off a bug, you know, smoked the night before, no sleep, fighting with a lady. And in a bad frame of mind with one soft ground shoe and one hard ground shoe. So I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, we'll play again.
I got one last to go. Remember at the end?
Yeah, it was one fleeting moment of brilliance. That's fun. But so where did you come up playing then? You mentioned you're from Hell's Kitchen. Well, how did you get to being a strong enough technical player that you could go to Ajax at 17 with the U20s and play against 18, 19-year-olds and score a goal in the one game? You know, some people just have the innate ability, but were you like, did you hone it in like, were you an inner city kid playing?
Can I say one memory I have of him? And I remember this, like, you know, we would all play and we were having fun. I remember I think it was you. You were like, yeah, I go in the morning and I do sprints or something like that for like an hour. And I'm like, oh, fuck that. Like, but that right there, of course you need to be technical and good, but that right there is going to make you jump up.
A lot of the guys I know, I don't think Messi was doing that. Ronaldo definitely was. He was a psychopath. Messi's kind of like this guy who just got touched by God. He worked, obviously. He's not a dog. I mean, you know, Ronaldinho would be an example of a guy who would, you know, got you know, the golden, you know, he had the Midas touch. Maradona, same thing, but they probably kind of, you know, they were able to kind of coast on that. Messi probably could have, I think, but he's definitely, you know, just personality-wise, he seems like a guy who's a little more dedicated than a lot of those other really talented guys who had similar levels of like technical ability. But Ronaldo's a guy who I think inspired a lot of. I don't know if this is like an innate thing that a lot of kids are doing independently, or like a lot of guys my age anyway were inspired by Ronaldo, but they would see the work ethic and stuff and say that's what I got to do. And a lot of those guys who I knew who kind of wound up making it, at least at some, you know, who got paid to play in some way, were psychos like that. They would be waking up early in the morning and doing sprints like you were doing.
Exactly.
You kind of have to have a little bit of that in you. You know what I'm saying? Some people
That-
just don't. You
that
know,
madness and that kind of like that drive is
total commitment to a thing, whatever the thing
Bro,
is.
we saw it on the field because when he would take a fucking sprint, he's, you know, even the fastest guy who was good, this guy will, you're like, holy shit. When you blast the ball, we're like, I did not want to be a goalie. That's why we were all in the same team. I'm like, hell no.
In terms of my
what was your
trajectory
background?
and whatnot, and that, so yeah, like my mother's Brazilian, my father's Italian. So like my first memory of.
But you grew up in New York, right?
I grew up in Astoria, Queens. I grew up in Astoria and in Hell's Kitchen. So Astoria is another very international neighborhood, and
A lot of soccer there too.
totally, yeah. There's a good amount of pickup games and small little playgrounds that you would like inconspicuous places with. There's the Moroccan pickup game, and then there's the Mexican pickup game, and it's like
It makes sense how many pros who wound up playing for the national team in the States come out of New York, right? Not just population wise. I mean, it does make sense. It's a huge number of people that live in
But
the
is
city.
there a lot?
There's not, I was going to say, there's not
There's
really
not.
a lot. I always say there should be more.
Wouldn't you say so? There's a lot from California and a lot of guys from New York. I don't know.
Who would name some New
Not
York
New
guys?
York.
Like New York, New Jersey guys. Like kind of,
Okay, so
you know,
Jersey
just
maybe
the
a little
area.
But yeah, like in terms of New York, what is it? Timothy Way, I think, has some background in New York.
Reyna.
Gio Reyna's a Jersey kid, probably, or New York.
But
I'm not
his
sure.
father as well.
Jersey.
There was that whole beef with
Berhalter.
Alexis Guerrero. Yeah, right,
He went to
right.
St. Benedict's as well, where I went to high school.
I know Guerrero's is from Alexis is from New Jersey, and he always he talks extensively about just the kind of I don't know. I mean, probably not. I don't know. Probably not for a while. I don't know where it stopped for him. I know he played as a kid. He's told me, but he's talked a lot about like the politics of soccer in like New Jersey and New York. I don't know. I've always gotten this impression that like a large number of people that wound up playing for the national team were
Jersey kids were always good
from this area.
They grew up on good big 11-on-11 fields.
That's what he was
grass
saying. That
fields.
advantage.
Giuseppe Rossi.
That guy was a solid fucking player, right?
I don't know. Like there's more guys I think from
No,
New
actually
York than
thinking about
the
it,
Midwest.
But then when you say that, because I think of like I'm a city guy, so I'm from Queens, Manhattan. So I say, dude, there was nobody from Queens and Manhattan that made it. But
didn't know
like you just said, it's true. New Jersey, maybe guys from Long Island, and like as a city guy, you don't feel like you identify with those guys,
Right.
but there are guys. But in terms of in this reality,
yeah,
in the city reality,
I'm
Northeast.
kind of looking a little more from a wider lens, right? As
But
an
that actually
outsider.
might be true. What you're saying is true. And in regards to like my upbringing, like I want to be a basketball player more than I want to be a soccer player. What you were talking about
Really?
before about hockey and
Yeah,
whatnot,
yeah.
just being from New York, I played ball.
Off pod we were talking, right?
Yeah. I would play basketball more than I played soccer, and then at 8 years old, my uncle coaches here in New York, Wilson. Shout out to Wilson Ejiju, and he sent me to like the projects down in the Lower East Side, Alfred E. Smith houses, and there was a little indoor soccer there, and I was 8 years old, and that was like my first encounter with the ball, and I realized like I was fast, I had like certain athletic attributes, but I pretty much sucked, I'd say, like in terms of technical ability and whatnot. And I played for a team called Manhattan Soccer Club, which is a nice, affluent Manhattan team that still exists now. And I was probably the better player there, but it was a bunch of rich kids from Manhattan, to be honest. Then I go to Dusk, which is another team that was based in Pier
Dusk.
40. Remember Dusk? They still exist as
down
well.
on-
Downtown United.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, they're Pier 40 is their headquarters as well. So I played there from like 9 to 10, 11 years old. And these are like teams where they're not really competitive, but I was like the best player on those teams. And then I'd play games against competitive teams like Gachi, which is in Queens, and we would lose like 6-1. And I would score the goal. And I would start to see like, all right, there's levels to this. So we play against Gachi, and then I go up to my mom and be like, yo, I want to go try out for that team. She's like, hey, Gabriel, I don't know if you're going to make it over there, like seeing that the level is higher. And I'm like, no, take me. Let's go. So I go try out, and I'm probably 12 years old, and I go to Gachi, which that would be like, let's say, the first serious team I started playing. And they're like an MLS Next team and whatnot, so they do things the right way. And from like 12 to 15, I'd say, that was like my immersion into like learning the game
and the competitive infrastructure,
competitive
and a little bit of coaching.
A lot of coaching. The coach that was excellent. Rob Schweitzer was like a Romanian guy that was super crazy. Like anybody from outside would be like, dude, this guy's wild, yelling his ass off. But he had us playing modern football. Like it was a 3-5-2. We were moving the ball.
Nice.
International team, guys from Greece, Afghanistan, Uruguay, me. Like there was just it was like a melting pot there. That was probably the most interesting team I've ever played on. And you could say like the pro teams and everything. Like I look at the youth moments I had, and I almost look at those moments as something I cherish more than like winning with Sampdoria type of thing.
Here's the interesting thing is at the time that you were doing all this, the path was not one where a ton of guys would go to Europe from the States. It happens now, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, a lot less. You're what, 35? You're like 10 years older than me?
Yeah, I'm 35, 1988.
Okay, so you're 10 years older than me. So I'm trying to think. Well, we could get into this in a little more depth because I do want to talk about like your time actually like playing in Italy and so on, and I guess how it ended. But just to kind of like at a cursory level, just to kind of give people an idea, as to why you're no longer playing. I mean, 35. A lot of guys do retire, before the age of 35. To be fair, right? A lot of guys just kind of whatever, 29. It's hard for a lot of Americans. Totally. They'll just say, "Fuck it, I'm done. There's no other opportunities here." But in your case, it was injuries, right? When you were quite young?
Yeah, I was, at the moment I stopped playing soccer, I was probably like 25, 26, and I was playing in the 4th division in France, across the street from Monte Carlo, in a team called Cap d'Ai.
Okay.
And you could go.
But that's where it ended for you, right?
That's where it ended.
So
exactly.
So
but it was due to injuries, but also, I'm not going to lie, I was a wild boy.
That's what I heard.
I am a wild boy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we were talking about psilocybin before, and about it's which is fine. That's fine.
Well.
We're Brazilian after all, right?
Right. We have to live up.
There's a big clubbing thing I know through him and Alberto and all those guys.
We were. Unfortunately for me, but I don't regret anything as well. Like if I had to relive the situation and they say, "Would you change anything?" I wouldn't change jack shit.
I want to talk a little bit about that. You just kind of put a bookmark in that because it is interesting. A lot of guys who kind of do, wind up making it in a thing and then eventually kind of burn out for whatever reason.
Right.
Just to kind of comparing it to other guys in other sports who I've heard of who have had like a similar thing go on. It is interesting. I do want to talk about that, but just to be clear, so. It pretty much ended for you like 10 years ago.
Correct.
So we're going back in time a little bit.
Totally.
At the time that you were kind of coming into, the competitive, I guess, professional levels in Europe, not many other people were doing it.
No, not from New York especially. And in Europe, there was a handful of guys just playing from America.
One more memory, you came to one of the trainings when I was playing with Rovers, and you fucked around, and he scored like 3 goals.
That was on the roof, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was like... there's a Cosmopolitan D1 league, couple guys ex-pro, couple guys college, just got out of college, and I remember you scored like 3, and they were like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" And I'm like, "I brought him." I remember that. Yeah,
you were my agent.
I remember that.
But to be clear, so a lot of guys who I remember, like in 2006 when the U.S. men's national team made the World Cup, I think a number of the guys that played for that team, and I mean this is a thing that kind of continued and kind of still continues to this day. It's one of the, I think, many ways that guys wind up getting into like the highest professional levels of football and playing for the U.S. men's national team. But at the time, this was a lot more prominent. A lot of them were guys whose dads were like in the military and like played in Germany, and through that were able to get into football. Or maybe they had like a British mom. They're from England. There's like whatever. So some American guy banged a lady abroad, and he came up abroad in a country with like a greater infrastructure or system, and then declared for the U.S. because of his ability to just do so.
Klinsmann scooped up all those guys, didn't he? When he was around, he was getting all these guys that had like a fraction of American. It was like, "Yep, I want you on the national team." He was doing that.
So very atypical for a guy born and bred in the States to go to Europe at the time. Would you say like so? It sounds you do need to have a cocktail of things. The psychotic work ethic, right? Sprinting, running on the highway. That's probably not hurting you, but having a natural ability and the right breeding ground, being good enough at 12 to play for the rep team. Some kids just they just aren't good enough, right, athletically, or just it happens later for them. But then there's also like this thing. An interesting thing I've noticed is a lot of guys have a person. You're talking about your dad being kind of like your sensei, who might have held you accountable. I think there's a culture of a lot of parents saying, do whatever the hell you want. It does, and it can help you to have a parent that pushes you very hard, in any kind of sport, especially, a dad who trains you as a boxer. You see a lot of guys whose dads are their boxing coach, or like Giuseppe Rossi's dad was very involved, and I think took a lot of risks to get the kid to Italy. I wonder if a lot of kids just didn't have that thing. I don't know how did you meet the agent? Was it through your father kind of hustling? And
good question. Yeah, that's and what you bring up is very valid because there's a fine line between the parents, and I see that as a coach now, right? I see it with the parents and the relationship with the kids and how far they're being pushed and all that. And My father was both my parents. I'll say like car rides back from games were harsh, bro. It was like I could have scored 3 goals and 2 assists, and they'd still find nitpicking one thing that maybe I didn't do right that day. And my mom had this thing that she would say, "Você não tem culhões debaixo das pernas, Gabriel," which means literally you got no balls underneath in your pants, Gabriel. When I had bad games, so it was like I would use my parents. They used to doubt me, but I think they did that to kind of motivate me, kind of like you're not gonna make it, kind of like. And I would use that as fire. And literally when I would score goals, I'd be like, yeah, see, I am going to be able to make it. And I would use that as a fuck you moment to my parents, literally. Like, and as much as I love them and they're part of that process, but they were able to pull the right strings to make me have that certain mentality, both my mom and my dad. And it was tough love, let's say.
You do need it from the parents as well, because you as a coach now, you were talking about how you coach a lot of, you coach a number of teams, right? You're very involved in the game here now. I guess the last 6 months since you've been here, you kind of like gotten into it. You got into coaching in Brazil, but now that you've been back, you've kind of
in France actually. When I stopped playing, the day after I started coaching.
Right away. Okay, so you've been coaching like for almost a decade, right? So I'm sure you could be a hard ass on the kids to an extent, but a lot of it has to come from themselves or from within, or I guess from the household as well.
Totally.
Some kids might just have it. Some kids might need like the push of the parents, but you can only do so much, right? You can't push every fucking kid that way. Some kids will snap. Some kids will just lose interest because whatever they're hard headed or whatever. And your job is also to instruct. You can guide to an extent because like I guess the infrastructure and like the business of football and how it's done and like the adequate way to pursue, I guess, professional opportunities. That's part of it as a coach. Like you're a point of reference for that. But ultimately, you have to teach them how to play the game.
Totally.
I feel like it has to kind of come from the parents to an extent. I've actually thought about this a lot. I don't know if you want kids, Alex.
I do, but I'm getting old.
I
honestly would love to fucking train a kid because all the
time.
All the
by the way,
stupid things I didn't know and didn't understand. At least if they ever wanted to play soccer or any sport, I could like. Oh, if I only knew that.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now, I want kids at some point too. I'd like it. I'd like a son. At least one son. I'd like the kid to at least maybe have a chance to play sports. Selfishly, right? Because I'm a sport guy. But also, like, you do want the best for any kid of yours. I've struggled with this, man. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna raise him. My parents were very good parents. They weren't psychotic. They weren't Korean with school.
Right.
They weren't full on, they weren't like your parents with soccer.
Now we're getting canceled.
No, please. It helps. It's good. It's productive,
that
My parents had expectations. I put a lot of pressure on myself, I realized. They weren't like super hard. Like my brother kind of went a different way. He's a lot more, he didn't put as much pressure on himself to like, to do X or Y. And he didn't have my parents really holding him that accountable. It was ultimately on us.
Right.
I went one way, my brother went another. We're different people because of it, know? It's not like we were in a household where there was an expectation of every fucking... I mean, there was baseline levels of like, of stuff that you want to, implement in the kid that you're going to raise them a certain way. Right. But when it comes to, I guess just, it wasn't militaristic. Some homes are, fucking... generals, sergeants have kids. You hear a lot about like guys from military families having a dad who was, a drill sergeant with them. And, I think it goes one of two ways, right? You could rebel against your parents, but you could also be hardened from it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a risk to do that, know? Like I've thought about it. Like, do I want, how?
It's just a relationship, right?
Well, yeah, but ultimately, when they get older, they should be smart enough to say that was good.
There you go.
But it's almost like you're leaving it up to them. You're almost like looking for their approval, where you're like, hey, I don't want him to hate me. I better not push him too hard. I'm a little reluctant to push him hard in whatever the thing is, school, whatever pursuit he wants to do, music, whatever. It's not good enough. Mm-hmm. I do think there's an element of like productivity that does come from that. And a lot of people that wind up succeeding at like the higher echelons of different fields in society, sports, academics, anything, just wind up, and ultimately, which is what you should ultimately like want for your kid, right? It's for them to, be the best, right? At a thing, or just be doing well, right? Like be self-sufficient and self-motivated. In addition to being a good person, maybe be creative, but yeah, I don't know. It's just funny when I talk to people that kind of have gone through that and I guess survived it because it, I don't know. It just forces me to ponder whether or not it's what I would want to do.
That's a good point. I mean, even as much as I mentioned that the car rides were harsh after games and whatnot, there wasn't this like absolute in my house with my father, especially. Like, he is a soccer fanatic. He lived in Argentina for 8 years and is a Boca Juniors. He was in La Barra Brava. Like, he would go into La Bombonera and jump inside La Bombonera before games. So like, this guy breathes football. And
what was he doing there for 8 years? As an adult or as a kid?
As a kid. My grandparents from Milano, they moved to Argentina. This was actually during like the Vietnam War, and my uncle at the time was eligible for the draft. So my grandparents were here in New York. You know, they were like, "Fuck that, we're out of here. We're not even gonna risk the fact our son getting drafted. Let's go to Argentina." My father's a younger one at like 12 years old, so he has a moment of his life in Buenos Aires.
Understood. Okay, so your dad was a big football guy.
He's a big football guy, but as much as he is a big football guy, there was never this kind of thing like, oh, you have to be a soccer player type of thing. I'm huge into music, for example.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Cinema, there's so many different.
I think
things.
That's the thing is you don't force the kid to do the thing, but you say, if you're gonna do this fucking thing, I'm gonna do it well.
What I'm curious.
Te lo fai bene. Like.
I'm curious, as a coach, how would you say, like, what have you taken from the way you were coached? What do you apply? And then with the kids, but also, and if you have kids, will you be the same with them if they like soccer?
Yeah. And
what do you mean? Sorry, you lost me there.
So like the way he was coached, obviously had an influence. Now he's a coach. All the shit that got him to have that level.
I want to talk about coaching because that's the thing. You've also kind of gotten a greater level of coaching than I got, right? I'm 26. I stopped playing really competitively a year ago, and I only played in Canada. You just got better coaching than you played. Totally. You were in Serie, right? So I'm curious about that, but that's a good question, right? So how is,
and also, but as a father too, like how you think, you know what I mean? Something
totally
very interesting.
I understand. So yeah, I coach kids from like very different ages as well. Like, I coach kids from like 7 years old to like 19. So every age group, there's a different language to me, like a different way of communicating, right? The essence stays the same, but the way you're expressing that message is different in each age group. And I don't have kids, but I'm going to be straight up. If I have a kid, if and when I have a kid, if it's a guy, if it's a girl, whatever it may be, whatever it is, now we're getting canceled.
Yeah, now we're done.
We're inclusive.
Exactly.
We cast the wider net.
We love everyone.
Story. So I don't even think I would want to like even force or forcefully introduce them to soccer. I'd literally like leave a bunch of things available, and it's like whatever you pick, you go for. So that's in regards to kid. But with my experience, and I have like 2 schools of coaching. My American school, which I have the person I mentioned before, Rob Schweitzer in Gachi, a pillar. My uncle, a pillar, who coaches here in New York, Brazilian coach, very free-flowing style. Rick Jacobs in St. Benedict's Prep, a pillar, guy that probably never kicked the ball, but in terms of the psychological aspect and the motivational, extremely good. And he's somebody that worked in the Philly Union after, so he's a guy who has a crazy reputation in New Jersey. He coached Tab Ramos, he coached Claudio Reyna, Berhalter. So those are my pillars in America, and I'd say that those pillars they give me the motivational aspect, the way to communicate to that last scene in a Disney movie where the coach rallies the troop side type of thing.
Like the psychological,
there
emotional.
You go. How do you get the best out of? Then my European
very
school,
American,
right? Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans, and we could go on. Then there's the European school, which is much more tactical, much more real, and that was Novellino, which was my first coach in Sampdoria, who gave me the opportunity to be on the first team. Mazzarri, who actually just got signed by Napoli to coach.
Right.
He was in Sampdoria.
Sure.
Alberto Bolini, who now coaches the U20 national team, who I won Il Campionato Primavera with Sampdoria. Yeah. And these are guys, Maurizio Sarri, who coaches in Lazio now. Yeah. So these are guys that literally I learned the game through them, tactically.
So, yeah. So what I guess the way you apply that in other fields is you see greater immersion into the thing, greater cerebral immersion, right? It's not just about motivation. It's about understanding a thing.
Totally.
Studying your thing, studying your music, or studying your comedy, or studying whatever your field. It doesn't have to be a creative field, whatever. Being a statistician, just understand the ins and outs, and seeing the necessity to kind of.
And in that sense, I was
necessity to get all fully immersed into the thing,
right?
Because they are very involved in
totally
different elements of the thing, which in the case of football is the tactics and so on. So Yeah.
So I
very
basically
different.
with the kids, I tell them I was lucky enough to be with great coaches and to go through different experiences and to play in different continents. I'm here to pass on that info to you guys.
Right.
That's all I'm doing. I'm a vessel to give that information that helped me. I'm trying to help you guys out, and that's all I'm trying to do.
Fine.
And I'm pretty hard nosed. I don't mess around. I call people out. I'm not a very like I am, and that's maybe the Italian school that gave me that. Like they're
Also having a competitive edge. You kind of do need that, though, for many good the best coaches I've had.
Totally.
I went to a Jesuit all-Catholic boys high school. So even, like, there was that culture, very sports and, being, the discipline, controlling a group,
Totally.
I do think, I think it's productive. It's important to fucking have that,
Do you ever coaching and you feel like you're being one of your old coaches or even your dad when you're like, and you're like, oh, shit, does that happen or not really?
I don't have that moment of reflection where but inevitably, like, not when I'm coaching, but after, or moments just like thinking about what I'm doing, I definitely see myself like, oh, I am that guy to this kid now.
Yeah.
I am that to this. And it's crazy how within a blink of an eye, you're already coaching and you're not even playing anymore type of thing. But I can't say I enjoy it more, but there is a beauty in being able to, teach the game and have an idea. Like a film director has an idea of like the movie he wants, and he gets the actors and whatnot to try to portray what his idea is. Well, a football coach is also doing the same thing with his idea of what beautiful football is, and trying to get that team to match that idea. And
this guy on the
you'll
left,
you'll probably never get to that realization, but the attempt is the beauty. The attempt in trying to get that to happen, the formulating, patterns to try to get them to play a certain way. And another thing that, like what I was mentioning about the Brazilian players, is the defensive side of the game, which is super important. And in Italy, as we know, that's what we take our pride in, let's say.
Sure.
So I was lucky enough to have that Italian side, but be also Brazilian, so I could have like, that flair aspect in my vision, but also, the importance of like sacrifice and defending and playing with grit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which the Italians,
The group, yeah.
Exactly.
Commit to the cause.
There you go.
And be part. Yeah, that's a thing that I, from the outside looking in, just as a I guess an involved fan, but who's never been on the inside. That's kind of the perception that I've always gotten of Italian football, right? Is that a lot of these guys who are these ideologues and have this, even if they're not that, that much of an ideologue, just there's like Sarri's an example of a real fucking ideologue, but you'll have ultimately just, I think, a greater culture of buy into what we're doing. Right. That might exist elsewhere in Germany. I can't imagine it would be that different. Football wise, they're very, very. They take football very seriously there as well, and they're very pragmatic. I guess it's probably a thing that you'll see a lot of in European football, just because it's at the highest levels everywhere. Maybe less in England.
I'd say so.
From what I understand, just from the outside looking in, but in other European countries, it does feel like you have a lot of guys that are trying to get you to do things my way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I had the experience of playing in France and in Switzerland, and I tried out for teams in Denmark, which was a Europa League team, Odense, and teams in England as well. But I totally agree with you in the sense that in Italy there is something different in terms of the coaching and the way they want everybody to buy into an idea. And there's just this notion of il gruppo. Whenever you go into a preseason, in Italy, it's kind of like dobbiamo fare il gruppo. Like, it's kind of like you need to solidify that group of men that are going to be going to battle, and that everybody's on the same page as a cohesive unit. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But the emphasis for that happening was way more than in other countries.
Yeah, and the failure of the coach is often just the inability to get them to buy in.
True.
Right? Yeah. That is the interesting thing with coaching in Italy. So overall, well, just why don't we run through your entire just career then, just kind of like a resume, just to kind of just to kind of give people an idea as to what it is you did, and just some of the experiences that you would have had, and then we kind of dive into what it was like.
Sounds good.
But so
we were at Sampdoria, and my wrist breaking, and
so when did you go back to Sam?
After I got cleared, did my rehabilitation for my wrist, I go back to Sampdoria in, I want to say, early 2007. I don't have the dates exact, but early 2007, I show up there ready to try out, and then I'm questioning myself. I was like, dude, did all that work that I did with the pickup games, with the sprints before, is that going to be valid right now in this moment trying out? And after a week, shit was valid. I was flying. I was literally in tip-top shape, playing. I was a center forward or a winger, and my references, let's say, and I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to these guys in terms of football, but guys that I looked up to that I wanted to emulate were like Thierry Henry, because he was super fast and I was extremely fast as well, or Ibrahimovic, because he was a tall guy with technique as a forward, and I mean there's tons of guys that, even Riquelme, when I was growing up, that was a guy that was like a master to me. So these were guys that I wanted to emulate my game. And so long story short, 1 week in Sampdoria, they signed me. They say, okay, you're going to sign with the Primavera, new signing. And at the moment, Fabio Paratici and Beppe Marotta were the directors, which Paratici was at Tottenham. I don't know if he's still there. Not too long ago.
I thought he was in jail last time.
Right, exactly, because he did some funky moves in Juve. And Marotta is in Inter, if I'm not mistaken, right now. So those guys were working with the Paratici was in charge of the youth in Sampdoria,
right,
and Marotta was with the first team.
Right.
So those were the guys that signed my first contract. I'm like, dude, I made it. I did it. So
with the same agent?
With the same agent, Giuseppe Dello Russo.
Did you stay with him the whole time that you played?
No, there was a moment where I detached myself from him.
Because he was a little nuts?
No, he was cool, man. That guy was good people. He was going through a divorce, so I felt like
I love this guy so much. He's such a his life is a soap opera. We don't sign for Ajax. No.
He was solid, man. He helped out, and he was part of a friend of his. So you even asked before, and I didn't answer that. Yeah. But how did my father hustle to try to get you the tryout? My father was a waiter in New York for affluent Italian restaurants, Cipriani, and different places in New York. Manager. So there would be guys that came into the restaurant and through overhearing or just conversing with them, hey, I have a son that plays soccer over here. Right. Oh, really? Yeah, my friend is an agent in Holland. You know. Oh, really? Well, you got a DVD? Yeah, let me get the DVD. And these guys, Pier Giovanni, he would be in the pickup game in Chinatown, that field that we were speaking about off pod before, and basically that there was an Italian group over here that had connections with Europe, and that DVD got sent to Giuseppe. He saw it, and then all that
old
happened.
school, do like a mixtape.
Right?
DVD,
exactly. Back in the day, there was no YouTube links, nothing like that, bro. And it was the beginning of that, actually. It was like, oh, you have a video? You have a video? I'm like, wow, you got a video? Oh. Literally, my dad used to come to games with the mini DV cameras, and then you had to get that.
That's what I'm saying, man. You needed a dad that was involved to an extent.
They do it, man. They do it. And you go to a studio. And
sometimes you have the dad, but you don't have the kids. And the dad looks like a psycho, the fucking kid who sucks.
Exactly.
And his dad who's like filming him.
Totally.
It's always funny.
They always had the best cameras, the worst kids. You're like, come on.
Fuck.
So,
yeah, that's the problem with hockey, by the way, is you do have a lot of rich dads who will just kind of like just try to buy talent,
Right.
Just put you in power skating. We'll try to buy your way into this team. We'll buy the fucking team bus. We just got to get you in. That happens a lot in hockey,
Yeah.
Football, I feel like there's just less of an opportunity to. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure it happens in every country for sure, wherever possible. But yeah, it feels like there's less space for it.
Right.
Okay.
So I signed with Sampdoria, and I signed with the Primavera, which is the U20.
Sure.
I'm practicing. I'm fighting for my spot. And every, let's say, Thursday, there was a friendly game between the first team and the Allievi Nazionale, which is the U16 team. Mm-hmm. So the first team does this friendly game to just run through tactics. Oh, we're playing Roma. Roma plays a 4-3-3, so we'll get the Allievi in the 4-3-3, and we'll start doing our patterns to see how it'll work against a 4-3-3.
The first team is playing the Allievi, and the Primavera is just not.
It's not even involved. They're not even there. So they would call
because the Primavera are two. They know that they're they're vying for a place.
Right. They need a sparring partner.
Yeah. You use them as cones almost, or pylons.
Well said. Tactical.
Okay.
So the Primavera coach would say to me, like, hey, go play with the Allievi against the first team today. I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. So similar to when I was playing for Dusk and playing against Gacci, the first team would kick the Allievi's ass 7-2. And I scored 2 goals.
Nice. So you were playing with the Allievi?
Playing with the Allievi against the first team of Sampdoria.
So
you would get those goals?
I would get those goals, me personally.
But
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. But you're 18 playing with the under-16s.
17 years old playing with the other 16. So it was literally, in my opinion, the Sampdoria coach was like, let's show the first team coach this new guy.
Yeah, no, I understand.
From New York.
Okay.
There was press about New York player, this and that.
No, it is a thing. Sometimes a guy gets sent to the U23s and he's 30. Right. I know it happens. But just to be clear. Right. So
but that was just for like that day type of thing.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So that happened, and then, okay, cool. Come back, train with the Primavera, start playing games with the Primavera, score some goals, making a name for myself. Next week, Allievi goes to play the friendly game against the first team again. 5-1, I score again. And then the third week it happens, and I scored again on the third week, and the first team coach Novellino just came up to me after that and said, "Hey ragazzino, domani alleni con noi." And that basically means, hey, little boy or youngin, tomorrow you're training with us. And from that day on, I was training with the first team.
That's crazy, yeah.
Exactly, just like that. And the fucking guys that were on the Primavera were pissed off. They're like, dude, I've been in Sampdoria for like 10 years. This fucking guy comes from New York and is already getting pushed up.
I've heard a lot of fucking stories of guys who've played for like a Sicilian team in like Eccellenza or like Serie D, and you know, in like the youth setup, same type of situation at a lower level, I guess. But they got an opportunity, got an in. They're like a Canadian Italian playing over there,
right?
And they're fucking. I just heard horror stories about just the jealousy and the exclusion that the Italians have for, because for them, I mean, it's just kind of.
You're a guy that's gonna take their job.
Yeah, sure, but it's also, I don't know. You wonder if you wonder if they can all be as hungry. There are guys who are good enough who do wind up making it, but a lot of them don't. Right? You're playing for the fucking, you're playing for the youth team of Genoa. Genoa, that's a weird example because it's actually in the city of Genoa. Like, let's take another. You're playing the youth team of Udinese. You're 15. You think, great, I'm on the path to doing it. But maybe two guys wind up playing for the the first team. Maybe one does. A couple of them wind up playing Serie C, Serie B, and a lot of them just wind up bagging groceries or just stop going to school and becoming accountants, right? Totally. And it's funny because you wonder if it's because for them, it's not as big a deal. You're there for the thing, whereas they're still living at home. And
that's a good point.
It's part of, people, some of the best kids play for pro teams here. That sounds very cool to you and I and Alex, but to them, it's, of course we are. We're just, we're not made it. We haven't made it yet. We're in the youth team. It's what we do. I wonder if it almost makes you complacent, We have to be very conscious, right? Anytime you do a thing, you can't let up.
That was a very good point, because it's like you're new to this, right? Like I'm new, I'm fresh in that scenario, and I don't have the background. I knew what Sampdoria was. Like I knew the team. I knew that Ortega played there. I would watch them on Rai back in the day, but I didn't know much, So it's kind of like this blank canvas gives you a feeling of like you don't know much, but you kind of like don't give a fuck either, and that's a good thing to encounter to embark on a new mission. I used to even think when I was in Italy and these guys would talk tactics before games, like my Italian, I didn't know how to speak Italian when I got there. I understood it. So these guys are talking tactics, devi fare quello, blah, 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 and I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck these guys are saying. But it didn't matter, because when I played, I just balled without having that thought, and it was actually better. Then I started learning Italian and understanding what the coaches wanted, and like slowly I was like losing my game because I wanted to make coach happy, do the tactical work, and then I'm like losing my essence. So in a way, sometimes that ignorance is bliss. That saying. Well, and even in soccer, I feel like sometimes to a certain extent, because if you're not fulfilling your duties tactically, the guy's going to put you on the bench and that's it.
But you also do hear stories about coaches coaching, I don't know, just overdoing it or just not getting the best of a good player, and why that is for a reason that you're citing.
Exactly.
Maybe you're not letting him be himself.
True.
That was why Zidane got a lot of praise at Madrid. He was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I was a guy who just had it. I understand that there's a couple of guys like that on this team. Maybe no one at my level in midfield, particularly maybe Modric. I don't know, but you let them do their thing. They're here for a reason. Exactly. They're in Madrid for a reason. We don't have to fucking You don't have to
don't overthink.
You have to micromanage, I guess. Right. There does seem to be a lot of micromanagement in Italian football, in particular, given like the desire to have you do a certain thing a certain way. How would you describe like the cerebral nature of Italian football, like in coaching overall? Then,
that's a very good question. I think that Italians are probably some of the best coaches in the world, but at the same time, there's a bit of what you just said was on the money in terms of like the micromanaging and the seeking perfection to a point where it could become destructive, and also offensively, because let's say defensively, Italy is a reference to me, or was a reference, because we haven't qualified to 2 World Cups, so I can't say that Italian soccer is flourishing as of late, but I feel like offensively is where they lack a bit of hot sauce, you know what I mean, in terms of what they offer. Like how are you getting your team to play a goal scoring football? And now I think in the last maybe 7 years, Serie A has picked up their goal scoring ratio in terms of what it was before. But I think that, the Italian coaches are top notch, but I think their limitation sometimes could be the offensive game. But the motivational aspect and the way that they can form and solidify a group. Like, I've had guys that played under Conte, for example, who was in Tottenham, right, not too long ago.
Sure.
And they said that he was the best coach that they've had. And he was coaching in Arezzo in the second division in Italy at that moment. And it's like there's guys that are able to create an idea and execute that idea everywhere they go.
Some people are just better at a
exactly.
thing.
Deserbi now is a reference. That guy is doing.
I was actually going to bring him up because the funny thing about him is, it's got to be crazy when, you're not at a Premier League side with a ton of, with backing and budget. And at one point, he had to have started out somewhere. And that's interesting.
Foggia, and that's where I played as well in the third division in Foggia, and not at the same time.
Right.
Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
No, but just it's I guess you don't know who you're getting. Like Sarri wound up becoming a very respected like thinker and coach who wound up managing 3 massive like clubs, 4 Lazio, but at one point he was with Empoli, and you wonder how it's like. How seriously do you take him? You kind of have to respect the coach, but you do totally have to kind of trust him and buy in. But sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you see that all the time. A guy, takes over at newly promoted Lecce, who've been struggling in Serie A. So he's he's tasked with trying to get the team to win games, but he has these ideas and he wants to implement them. But he's got a cast of characters who, are struggling for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Lower budget team, less experience. They're not like a full-on Serie A team, to the extent that some of the higher level teams are. So it doesn't last long. Maybe the players never buy in. It's just it's interesting, right? Because they can't all be top tier, but a lot of them I think do have ideas, and I think that kind of makes it complicated sometimes for teams to buy into. And I think that's when we see guys like fail and get fired often very quickly. True. And then brought back in for some odd reason, right? There's like this, you resell the vision to the same guy sometimes.
And is that and then I started questioning that happens everywhere pretty much. Like there's like
all over Italy.
But then I say, is that because there's just a lack of other new faces? You know what I mean? Is there not enough fresh coaches or young coaches, or is there young coaches and they're just not given the opportunities? And is it just like a little clique of the big boys that are the big coaches, and it's like there's a little merry-go-round of coaches, and these are the guys that are the big names, and that's it? And I think it has a little bit to do with that. Sometimes it's very cliquey, very are you in the ex-player realm and whatnot, and these guys always have a priority and stuff. But the lack of patience with coaches is something that is astonishing to me.
Even Roberto Baggio had like an issue, I think, with Sacchi in the 90s. Like they kind of clashed. I think it's because they were two alphas in a high stress situation, and I think having creative differences is normal. Trying to work around them is a thing that a great coach should do, and Sacchi did. To be fair, I mean, they were a few kicks away from winning a World Cup, but. Yeah, I wonder how much of the wanting you to play a certain way and not kind of let them fucking be, or the lack of a let them fucking be type of attitude actually is maybe. I'm realizing, just kind of looking at things from like a wider lens. I wonder if maybe that's a reason why one of the larger issues in Italian football is currently around why we're facing this issue, which is that a lot of young players who are talented. It's not that we don't produce players; they do, but they are often not given opportunities. I think it's because of lack of trust from the coach.
100%.
And it's like why would I trust him when I have this other guy who's going to do exactly? He's 20. He's 28. He's 28. He's just more. He's more mature. He's less. He's less. He's less idealistic. Maybe he's not as talented, but he does what I think I need to win. Because I'm a coach who wants to get a longer-term contract. I want to survive this year. Maybe you're just trying to buy time as a coach. I just got to get to next year, We need to win. This is fucking top-level football. There's pressure from the town. I can't give the 17-year-old a chance.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's exactly it. You were totally right, because they're in it for, the quick fix.
You think so? You think it's...
You're right.
It makes sense,
yeah.
But... Yeah, I don't know. Like in Colombia, I don't know how tuned in you are, Alex,
That's a lot of politics
Colombian
too.
football.
But I think it's in there.
I'm sure there is. This is probably like, if you don't
Yeah.
play this guy, we'll get.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, that's been a thing, especially
Honestly,
in the
it's
90s.
like that in a lot of. That's just with soccer though. It's things like that in comedy and this. There's a lot of different ways where, certain people, stick to what's not safe, but in a way,
Absolutely, 100%.
obedient.
Yeah, you're a club owner too. I know you're not a booker, but St. Mark's is you probably you see it, right? This guy's a bit of a rogue. This guy's a bit rogue. I don't know if we're gonna throw him up. He might tell the audience to go fuck himself. Like
We're a business at the end.
all
of
the
the day.
comics love Patrice O'Neill, but sometimes he might he would.
Yeah.
There's this one story that Bill Burr was talking about. They were doing a PETA event, and he went up and started talking about how he cooked a puppy for breakfast. So the comics are all happy, and it's fun in hindsight. But at the time, if you're like the organizer of that event, we can't have this guy
Yeah,
back.
I'll never have him again.
You know what I'm saying? So you're right. But yeah, I wonder if like the stakes in Colombia are lower. I'm sure in the respective towns they give a lot of a shit. But it's like, what other options do they have? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Hey, there's
for
a
sure.
guy who's so talented. You got to throw James Rodriguez to them. Maybe he's a bad example because he's like he was obscenely talented. But there are young players in any academy in any infrastructure who are probably good enough to maybe be given a shot. And then
I'm
that
wondering if
does
it's-
tend to happen more in South America.
I'm wondering if it's more like you're trying to like more of an Italian thing, or is that just kind of multiple countries kind of deal with that same issue?
I'm sure others do, but I think in Italy because of the footballing culture and the coaching culture and the desire to think about it very philosophically and very in depth. Breeds this thing where you demand X, Y, or Z, and you do or don't trust young players. As a result, I kind of cut you off, before you seem to agree with the assessment. It's a theory.
No, and like you have to see it as like who's the buyer and who's the seller in terms of players, right? Like South American countries, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, they're the seller.
Yeah.
So they want to promote young players because they know damn well that a European
fucking
team's about
business
to
model.
finance their whole program for the next 10 years if they sell one player. So that's their incentive is to get an Endrick who's 16 years old to play on Palmeiras, to get bought by Real Madrid or
If you see he's good, you just there's this culture of it as well. There have been these phenomenon. There have been these phenoms before. We've had no choice but to bring them through, and we've sold them. Oh, well, we know that works. Let's keep doing that. This guy's showing promise. Bring him in.
And even the ones that aren't phenoms but that are just good players, they will not hesitate to put them into play because they know that that's their moneymaker. Whereas in Italy, they're the buyer. So they're not looking at the youth system and saying that same thing. They're not saying, ooh, who's the 17-year-old Italian kid that we're going to sell to Newcastle? No, they're literally saying, who's the 17 Brazilian that we're going to buy to be the star here? And also that's one part, and as well as the fact that you mentioned about the coaches relying on the tactics and not trusting young players. It's like, dude, this guy is not as talented, but he's reliable. I know that he will give me this, and that, and the young guy probably won't. And they've done that for like 20 years. They neglected the youth for so long where it's like that's what's going to happen. You're not going to qualify to 2 World Cups.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I just think the path is just a little longer for some of those guys. Like there are talented Italian players that you see playing for the U20 team who do wind up playing for the senior team. Like Fratesi is a good example. I think he captained the U20 team.
Scalvini's a new prospect. That's
Scalvini's getting opportunities. Yeah.
And
he's one of a few. He's kind of on his own. There aren't a ton.
They're slowly doing it. Because it's like, well, what do you have to lose now? You've already hit rock bottom. Now you have to do that.
Yeah, but again, like I don't know that Gasperini's like giving him a chance at Atalanta because he's seeing the larger meta issues in Italian football. I think he's just doing it because
he's a solid player.
Yeah.
He can make the line.
There just aren't a ton of guys like him. You don't see it a lot. I'm saying it just takes longer. Like Fratesi's now playing for Inter and he's 20. He'll be 25 this year.
That's a good point because
next year he's 24.
It's like when are you a rookie, right? It's like in certain countries they say, oh, we're playing the young player and it's a 17-year-old. You're like, yeah, that is a young player. And in Italy, he's Jovan and they're like 22, 23, and you're like, dude, that guy is in another country. He's already a seasoned vet. You know what I mean?
Right. And in the case of some players who are just so good you can't ignore them. Like Balotelli had done a lot by 23. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was a good example of a phenom. I think you could say
him a good amount of times.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I get but it's like unless you're that good, it's hard to kind of justify it. It's easy to make excuses as to why you shouldn't play the kid. When did you play against Balotelli in particular?
So back to Sampdoria, I get called up to the first team and I start going to the games on the bench for the first team. First game I think it was against Empoli in Empoli Stadium. And 6 months ago I'm over there playing with Alex and Pierforti. Then I'm in Serie A bench. So I'm like, dude, this shit goes fast.
That's crazy.
Blink of an
By the
eye.
way, we were in New York like we were all like, and then he would visit during the holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I remember.
And I would play when I would come to visit in the holiday as well. And so basically,
could you smoke weed because of, or could you not because of drug testing? It's not.
I
It's
could
not
not because of drug testing. But there's always ways
Yeah.
around.
But did he stop?
But at that moment, I wasn't smoking. I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
I was a law-abiding citizen.
Sure.
And so basically, I would get called up to the Primavera games only, but I would practice with the first team, go to the bench with the first team. So I was like, hot shit, bro. I was like, yeah, I'll go with the Primavera games to help you guys out. And in the Primavera, it reaches the fase finale, which is the playoffs.
Right.
And at that moment, you're playing against, Juventus, Atalanta. Giovinco was in Juventus.
Sure. Yeah, he's a year older than you.
Yes, correct. 1987.
Balotelli's younger than you. He's 2 years younger than you, but you would have played.
But he was playing in the Primavera already 3 years younger. So
at Inter at the time?
Exactly.
Okay.
So Giovinco is another guy that I'll say that he's one of the best players I played against in terms of like youth and whatnot. That guy was a phenom, dude. And I'm surprised he didn't get enough. That's an example of an Italian player that was young, had tons of talent, and was just never given a fair break.
He played, he got like 20 caps. He wound up, he played for Juve for a little while. It just, he made big money in Toronto and took it. He might have had more to give for another side.
Right.
He gave a lot of his really good prime years to, to MLS. And I don't think he regrets it. He enjoys Toronto. I think he still lives there. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got their own fucking path. He was a little guy. It's always challenging.
Great player, though. Great player. And that fase finale, it was Sampdoria against Inter in the final, which had Balotelli in that final, and Bonucci was defending me in that game.
No shit.
Defender there.
Fuck.
And they won 1-0 off a doubtful-ass penalty, bro. They fucking robbed us that game. So they won that final. Balotelli played in that final. And the year after, we went to the finals again, and we played against Inter, and we beat Inter, and Balotelli was also in that final.
That's very cool.
We had a very good Primavera team in Sampdoria, probably the best in their history, like to make it. We won Coppa Italia. We played against Atalanta.
Who else was a part of that team? Anyone else?
Sampdoria?
Anyone else who
Believe it
could
or
have
not, there was Andrea Polli, who played in
sure.
in Milan. He was like one of the guys. Fiorillo, who's a goalkeeper who bounced around in Pescara in the second division. Vladimir Koman, who's another guy who played in first division in different countries, but they didn't give us a chance. We won everything to win in the youth setup, and not one guy from the youth team was pushed up to the first team and kind of like, okay, weird. We're going to use this. We have a great group here. Let's get 3 or 4 players like maybe some teams do. And a team like Sampdoria doesn't have the luxury of buying big names and whatnot, so you would think that they would do something like that, but not at all.
And you never got a chance, right? They loaned you out a lot.
I played in Coppa Italia against Inter in San Siro for about 20 minutes, I'd say, and that was a lovely experience. Like, you turn around, you got Walter Samuel defending you, you got Bordiso on the other side, you got Zanetti over there, and that's just like a pinch yourself moment. Like, damn, this shit is real right now.
Yeah.
So then other times I was on the bench and I wasn't going in games. I was about to go into a game against AC Milan. The ref blew the damn whistle and finished the game. So I kind of had to say what's up to Ancelotti and just go back into the locker room. You know what I mean? But then I
saw
went
Kaka, no?
I saw Kaka as well there. I changed jerseys with him. Sweetheart, very, very religious, very.
You said he kind of he's like we're gonna
pray in a sermon.
We're gonna form a prayer circle.
Yeah, he was like, oh, Deus abençoe seu caminho, like God bless you in your path. And to be real, he was super nice, man, like on some genuine shit.
A lot of Brazilians talk like Muslims.
yeah, it's
like in the middle
with a cross.
It's like may the peace, glory, and love of God be upon you. It's like, whoa, Jesus, very intense.
The Brazilians are either one extreme or the other. They're either super religious or super wild and partying,
having orgies.
Yeah,
I mean,
lawsuits.
Lawsuit, prison. So you bounced around where? So Foggia, Arezzo.
No. I go to as soon as I leave Sampdoria, I go to Perugia.
Okay.
Which was in Serie.
Good team, big city.
Good team, big city, nice city, university city.
Temptation
comes. That's where the temptation starts going. You know what I mean? Like you got, and I lived in the center as well. I lived like in a cool medieval loft, you know what I mean?
It's cool city, it's cool city. No, I know. No, I've never walked around it.
It's like it reminds you almost like a feudal setup, like the city center is on the top of a hill kind of thing with like a fort.
Yeah, one of those.
Super cool. And
well, geographically, it's that part of the country.
Right. Abruzzo, what is that?
Umbria,
thank you.
Yeah,
good.
No, but there are cities there, old cities like that, and
exactly.
Siena, Urbino, like these old towns that,
So I go
with that cool medieval flair to them.
Exactly. So I go on loan to Perugia, and these are teams that were in Serie A. So you catching them when they're in Serie C, and the fans are kind of like living off the glory days in the past. So you're like, yo, man. who are you? You know what I mean? Like we remember having Materazzi, Nakata, Gattuso on our team. What the fuck is this Ferrari guy over here? You know what I mean? But I had a good stint there. I was a young guy. And, you know, that's where Sarri was my coach as well. He actually was one of those guys that you mentioned. He was there in the beginning, got fired, and then came back.
How did that happen? And what's the reaction? Okay, this is interesting. What's it like to be playing for a club in Italy where the coach gets fired and rehired in the same season?
You start realizing it's a shit show. Like, you start looking at your president like, the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what is this, like, merry-go-round happening? Like, you know what I mean? You as a player, you'll accept whoever your coach is. But then when you start seeing the same face come back, you're like, what? You know what I mean? So you realize that there's weird things like going on that you have no idea about. But Sarri at that moment, there was no Sarri ball. He kind of adapted to what he had. He was in the Serie team, so he didn't. It wasn't that football that you saw in Chelsea or Napoli when he was there. It was a pragmatic 4-4-2, you know. And the guy was a wild character in terms of like his philosophy. I kind of respect the shit out of him, to be honest, because this guy, he gave two fucks about anybody. He would smoke his cigarettes. He had communist views in a moment where, like, nobody gave a shit about, you know, communism. He came up to me the first day I met him. He was like, oh, Ferrari. Literally his words. Stavo sborrando quando son cadute le torri gemelli. I was coming in my pants when the Twin Towers fell.
What the fuck?
Exactly. That was my reaction. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. I was like, yo, I'm from New York, and, like, 2,000 people died that moment, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And he realized I didn't like what he said because I took it as like a New Yorker, like you're offending my fucking city type of thing. And then he was like, no, però quei capitalisti di merda, those capitalists. And then I started realizing he had an underlying political meaning for that, which at the moment I wasn't too, you know, keen on politics at 17. But looking back at it, I was like, oh, maybe this motherfucker was onto something. You know what I mean? Right. So that was something that he said to me already there. I was like, dude, this guy's quite different.
I know he wasn't, you know, oh, fuck.
How do you say inside job in Italian?
What is that?
I don't know.
It's an inside job. I'm just curious, like
Uma. No, that's something like under the table, like where we don't talk about that kind of thing. But inside job, that's actually, I'm trying to think about the phrase, the inside job, and
propaganda.
I'd love to hear that in Italian.
I don't know, dude. I love how he wasn't even accusing it of being an inside job. He was just saying good.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, you know, he wasn't like, you know, I thought they deserved it. He wasn't telling you George Bush is full of shit.
No.
He was like, good. Yeah. Infrastructure falling.
Right.
But he's from that part of the country. He grew up in Tuscany.
Toscano, exactly.
Very communist, dude. Livorno, very communist.
Yeah.
Is he from Livorno?
I'm not sure exactly if he's from Livorno, but he is from Toscana. And also Mazzarri was Toscano. They had this weird ha-ha-ha-la, this kind of like way of talking. Every accent in Italy or dialect in Italy is pretty interesting. But that one in particular, I'm like, yo, bro, you're forcing it right now. Like, you could pronounce a C.
It doesn't make it.
You don't have to go ha-ha-ha-la. You can just say the goddamn C. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that moment in Sampdoria was cool, man, because at 18 also, like, I'm in the locker room. I'm in the gym, right? And certain moments, I got a little, you know, hamstring thing. So you go to the gym and you work out. And one day I go to the gym and I'm seeing this dude with long hair with a beard. Like, who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't play. He's not on the roster. And then they're like, quello Gaddafi. I'm like, oh, Gaddafi. I'm like, yo, I heard that name Gaddafi before on some
Wasn't
CNN.
his son was a player, right?
There you go. That's him. So he was training in Sampdoria when I arrived. And he was training there because why? Because the owner of Sampdoria was Garrone, which was the owner of Erg, which is a gas station, petroleum money, you know what I mean?
Right.
So there was a connection there with some, you know, oil money with Gaddafi's father, right?
I thought he played at Perugia at one point.
He was in Perugia before. Well, you know your stuff.
But I realized
before, which ironically I went to Perugia after, but he was in Perugia before, so he would kind of do this thing where he would, you know, some way pay or somehow get his way into the teams, and he wanted to live the soccer player.
It's like
life.
a Make-A-Wish kid.
Exactly.
How was he?
He would be a good pickup player. You know what I'm saying? We would allow him to play in our pickup game. Pure 40.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, bro.
Wow,
but
really?
he was like, you know, he would barely come into practice. Like the last 20 minutes of a practice, Novellino would be like, vai, chiama Gaddafi per entrare, vai, chiamalo lì. And he'd be like, yeah, let him play. And then when he would play, he'd be fucking like, wow, kind of like gassing him up, like, oh, look at that move, this, that. And everybody would be like, you know, kind of fucking around. Why? Because this guy also was like very generous.
Yeah.
So in Perugia, when he was there, he bought a smart car for each of the players in the locker room. Just showed up one day. It was like the little mini car smart. Yeah. And all the players got one, and the president, I think Renato Curi, I believe was his name in Perugia at the moment, was like, yo, bro, you got to take all these cars and give these shits back. Like, we can't accept this. This is a conflict of interest. You can't have a player or a guy who's playing give presents to the players like this. So
Right.
he would like show up and give Rolexes to players and stuff like that. So I'm in the gym right now and whatnot, and he sees me. He's like, "Oh, where are you from? Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from New York." He's like, "No, you're from New York." I was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm from New York City." He's like, "Oh man, that's." And he was super infatuated with me, bro. Like his eyes grew like. I guess because he wasn't in contact with many people from New York or the United States because Libya had bad relations with.
Sure.
I was like a New Yorker that just dropped right in front of him. I had my style, my way, my urban, way of being that intrigued them. So this guy was inviting me all the time to parties, to the hotel, come through. We're about to do this, about to do that. I was like, fuck it, let's do this shit. You know what I mean? Let's go out, blah, blah,
And
blah.
he had money.
Exactly. This motherfucker never gave me anything, dude. Like, he literally asked me one day, he was like, so Gabriel, if there's a car you like, which car you like? I was like, fucking G-Wagon. That's what I would like. You know what I mean? That's a car, like, if I had the money, I would buy. He was like, all right. I was like, waiting. I was like, when does this guy come with my G-Wagon? Never. You know what I mean?
You still talk to him?
No, I don't. But
is he still alive? Is he in jail somewhere?
He was in jail. He was a prisoner of war in Niger. We're not getting canceled for that either.
Yeah. That's just.
I worked on that pronunciation.
That'd be the 3 strikes right there.
So he was a prisoner of war there after, obviously, Hillary Clinton and the gang bombed his pops, over there in Libya. But yeah, we would go out and stuff like that, and he was. The players would kind of tell me like, "Yo, Gabe, watch out, bro. This guy's funky." I was like, "What you mean he's funky?" I was like, "This guy, he might like men as well." And I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting. This is like something I didn't know." So when they were in his,
you're like, "Yo, I want that G-Wagon."
Yeah, exactly. So no, but when they were coming back from a night out, we would go to these clubs in Milan. We would go to places in, different.
I must have been
clubs.
sad.
It was cool, man. This guy would have these big ass bottles. Like in my club days, when superficiality was at its top and my ego was being,
sure.
But that was pretty cool. And then when they were going back, and he's like, fucking drunk, I'm drunk, and we're in the Escalade, and it's me, him, and this other old guy. He used to have like a team of interesting people, like a woman from Norway there that was just there to talk, an old timer from Italy, a young New Yorker, and he had his ensemble of people to entertain him.
An old timer from Italy. Who's the old timer from Italy?
I don't even know, bro, but he was an interesting character. Let's just put it like that.
Just some guy from the Paese.
No, a guy that the affluent people.
Okay.
Totally affluent people that would,
sure.
There's nobody in Gaddafi's car if you're not there for a reason.
Sure.
And I was just the random kid from New York that was there, And then this guy is like, he's like, "Oh, Gabriel, you're my brother, Gabriel." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, brother's cool, yeah." And then he tries to come at me with the good old Godfather kiss on the cheeks, but then the Godfather kiss on the cheeks became an attempt to kiss on the, and I was like, "Oh,
no
the
way.
Fuck up, Sadi." And he's like, "No, Gabriel. What you think and I was like, I don't know what I think or anything. I'm just saying I don't want to kiss your ass, bro. Like that's all it is, you know what I mean? And he got super offended. It was like, "No, you don't understand. This is love, brotherhood, this and that." I was like, whatever, bro. I don't want to.
It's like the opposite.
You're not my type, Sadi. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's like the opposite of what people might think would happen. They would think, in the Middle East they'd be like, "We're men, we're real men," and that queer from America tried to kiss me.
But when you have everything like
and he got incensed.
Yeah,
it's the opposite.
He's getting bored.
Exactly.
He's like, "I want to try something new."
Exactly, man. These guys have all the women, anything they want at the snap of a finger. So it's like,
that's crazy.
If I want to see what this young New Yorker is all about, like they can do that, and they usually have no repercussions. So that was like the moment where I was like, we're not hanging out anymore.
Yeah.
He probably grew up and was like, he was told, he was instructed. America's it's a very haram place. They'll do anything.
Yeah.
Especially
New York.
Right. He thought I was down maybe, but yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
So that was an interesting thing, and that was a moment where I was like, dude. And there were some articles that came out at the time, like, "Oh, a U.S. player friends with Gaddafi" kind of thing. I had my geopolitical knowledge was very limited at the time, so I didn't even know like the extent of.
You almost started a proxy war.
Yeah, exactly, dude. But that was
You imagine if you had like just killed Gaddafi's son, right. Just an American, just or something, or he had died in your presence.
That would have been. I would have probably been assassinated just for sheer.
No, I mean probably not. Just you would have dragged You would have dragged America into a war with.
I would have been a hero in America, maybe.
Oh my God, yeah. Holy shit.
So that was one kind of thing.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah, that is. And then so that's the trajectory. Sampdoria, then Perugia, and then you go from these teams, and these fucking presidents aren't paying you. They're very result based. Like, "Oh, you lost 3 games in a row.
Sure,
well, we ain't gonna pay you this month's salaries." And you're kind of like,
"Wow,
what the fuck's going on here? I'm a professional player, but my bank account's looking kind of slim." And then you talk to your agent, and you're like, "Listen, man, things not happen over here." He's like, "Okay, we'll send you to Foggia." And Foggia is a pretty interesting place as well. I'm not sure if you know. It's close to Bari. It's a
Right.
very, very, let's say,
Speaking
poor.
speaking of places that are hard to understand
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, they say there's a saying called "Fuggi da Foggia," non per Foggia, ma per i foggiani. And it's like
you sound
get out of
Albanian.
Well, they have like it's not the Adriatic Sea isn't.
What
really
does that
close.
mean?
Get out of Foggia, but not because of Foggia, but because of the Foggiano. So it's basically saying like the people here are fucking assholes and we're
Right.
hard headed and like you better get out of here because we run shit here and I did. I stayed there for 6 months. I played there and
You got out.
I got out
I'm out.
because of the situations with the presidents not paying and whatnot. And I was getting playing time. I was playing. This was in Serie. Like the fans were there, but these were all struggles. It was not the glory kind of professional soccer player. Ooh, it's the story that not many people hear about.
Right.
What's that like? Cause like, yeah, what's your mentality at this point? Are you like I'm over this, I'm done, or soon, or are you like maybe I can still?
That's and that goes back to like why did I stop playing so early, right? So yeah, you start questioning, is this really it? You know what I mean? Do I want to continue with this? Because there's professional players and then there's professional players. There's guys that are making crazy money and then there's guys that aren't making that kind of money. And at that point, you know what I mean? Like you start questioning what you're really doing. And I had a good friend here in New York that was DJing here. I would come back to New York. Literally, I would take a flight on a weekend on a Friday night, come over here, DJ with my boy in the box.
Yeah.
And then
Crazy spot.
not bad at that time. And then I would go back to Italy. So my priorities were kind of like I was already like, yo, I could do other things. I could DJ with my boy.
It's the problem. Yeah, you don't seem like a stupid guy, and sometimes that can hurt. You know,
Right.
if
You have
you're-
layers. You have layers.
Yeah, well, there are different types of guys who can succeed. You can have the flawed guy who succeeds because he's very talented. Like Ronaldinho had a great career despite being super flawed and barely ever working. Right. Then you have Ronaldo, a guy who's like fully all in on it. And I don't know that he's an idiot, but he doesn't really I don't know how interesting a guy he'd be to talk to. He might because he's Ronaldo and because he's seen a lot of things and gone to parties and interface with
Right.
high value people, whatever that is. I don't know, just high net worth individuals and fucking,
But that's
I'm sure he's fucked, I'm sure that's all fun, but he doesn't seem like a guy who pays much mind to, I don't know, like geopolitics, which is fine,
Not all athletes have to, and
Right.
I almost get kind of like when athletes want to have like a political stance or something like that, and I'm like, dude, like some people say like shut up and dribble a basketball, whatever. I don't agree with that at all, but at some moments you see that these guys don't even have the proper knowledge of what they're talking about. It's like if you're gonna talk about it, you better know what.
Well, that's
talking
where
about.
that comes from. That's where that like idea that
Exactly.
they ought to shut up talk
Exactly.
comes from, is because a lot of the time it's like, geez, that's
Right.
it's not very well informed. What you're doing is
You see
you
people.
see what you're doing, but it's not, because you'll hear people. Sorry, but you'll hear people talk it out, and it's like, oh, this guy doesn't make any sense. But I mean, that's a choice you're making, right? It's a line in the sand that you're drawing. It's just a question of whether or not you think it's a smart move or not.
Right.
But being a smart guy and having interests in other things can. I don't know that it's that conducive to doing this one thing at the top level.
You're right.
It's. And you can still have a passion for football. You still fucking coach guys, right? It's just a thing that you choose to occupy your bandwidth.
I was curious where at all does MLS ever, because we never talked, ever was popping in the back of your head?
That's that's a good question as well.
Because you were a U20
national team
player with the
Speaking of-
U.S. and it never, because I guess you were a younger guy, but you weren't playing it like you never wound up playing like top flight for a long period of time, right?
Exactly.
So I guess it just never quite happened. But you make the jump to MLS, you think fuck it, maybe there's an opportunity there, and then it could have all gone differently for you.
But
You were
MLS
intent
back
on playing
then.
for the States.
Exactly. So that was actually like I totally skipped that. I'm in Sampdoria and I never played on any youth national team here in New York. I was kind of under the radar in a way, like to people that knew me, they were like, oh, this guy's good, but like in the grand scheme of things, I was not the superstar that everybody thought was going to be the guy making it. I was maybe the quiet guy that was chipping away kind of thing, And I got called up actually to the U20 Italian national team before getting called up to the United States. It was simultaneous, and that because I have an Italian passport, and they called me up, so I literally had to choose between the United States and Italy. And another crossroad where I talked about Ajax and not going to Ajax, maybe being a mistake. Well, a lot of the times I think, even though I grew up here in New York and I had the image of playing for the U.S. national team, looking back, I think that it would have maybe been a better choice to play for Italy. But at that moment, the United States made it to the U20 World Cup, and Italy didn't. So I was like, "Ooh, I have something in front of me that I could play in and maybe get called up for."
Use as a showcase.
Exactly. And, Italy is a much better football nation at that time and still is. So you say, what are the chances of me, breaking through in Italy? That's the thought. But then you say, where is there actually more knowledge of football, and who's giving you the chance that you're having right now? It was Italian. So
Right.
Yeah, but you're not committing to anything, right? Like it's even at that point, it's you're not. What's the expression in English? Fucking. It doesn't look. You speak French. We were speaking French before.
Yeah.
T'as pas tort. Tu n'as pas tort.
Wait, it's not too late.
No. Like
you're that Montreal accent, bro. Man, Montreal accent.
No. It's. You did well to kind of consider the pragmatism of the decision.
Right.
It wasn't stupid. You're not signing a contract. It's youth level.
Exactly.
That's kind of
Well
the beauty of it,
Totally.
right? You might burn bridges. That's
Right,
the issue.
Right. But there
You
was
might rub people the wrong way. But ultimately,
the stakes weren't as high as they in
Sure.
terms of I get you.
yeah, you kind of have to do the thing that makes the most pragmatic sense
Right.
at youth level. You see a lot of guys treat it like a career decision.
Right.
Guys who bounce between Ireland and Scotland and England.
True.
At
That moment, it was like, if you choose, you can't go back type of thing. Now I think there's actually you could be
Really?
in the youth-
Is that
yeah,
is that the
that's
feeling
what
at
it
the
was.
time?
That's what it was. It was like a FIFA rule that if you choose a U20 and you play a game for a U20, that is your national team. So I didn't.
Well,
have
I
that
think I think what would happen is you're registered under that, but then you could change affiliations at senior level until you've gotten capped in a competitive game.
maybe you're
That's
right.
definitely the rule. But it might have been
In 2007 though, maybe it was different. But I think you're right about that. In
But
terms of U20 and then in senior cap. Is
yeah, but I'm not yet. But I'm not well actually in
Right.
you. I'm saying you're right. From what I understand, from what I've been led to understand, I believe you can't just kind of. You can't just by accepting a call, paperwork is filed to FIFA. I think, right?
Right.
You're just registered as that, and then
Right.
there's an affiliation switch that can be made. I think at some point down the line.
Right. But to go back to what he was saying about the MLS, I grew up here and played for the Red Bulls youth team, and Alexis Lalas was the GM at that time, and Savarese was also involved.
Savarese, wow.
Yeah, and they never really kind of were like, dude, we're not project I was 16 at the time. I didn't expect them to say hey, you're gonna look for a spot on the first team. I wasn't probably ready at the time. Michael Bradley was playing in the first team at that time under his father, Bob Bradley, and he was getting that chance and whatnot as a 16-year-old.
Bob Bradley's Michael Bradley's dad.
You didn't know that?
You
I
didn't
had
know
no
that?
clue.
Yeah, bro. That's how he started in Red Bull Metro Stars at the time.
I never knew that.
He played in all the games when he was 16 years old.
Makes total sense. Two bald fucks.
Yeah, bro. They look exactly like his dad now.
Yeah. And
I never knew that. Okay.
So the Red Bull never gave me that love or that feeling of we're projecting you in our first team. So that was all right, so I'll go to Europe then. And then at a moment when I saw that things weren't going right in Europe, after going to Foggia, I went to a team called Ternana. Same story with the turbulent locker room in terms of performances of the team and whatnot. But I was always playing in these teams, but I wasn't getting paid, to be straight up. I was getting paid 2 months, and then I wouldn't get paid 3 months, and then it was just a struggle, and fans trying to beat you up after games type of thing because the team isn't going well. They're throwing rocks at the cars.
Wow.
So that's you're living the
You're in it.
Yeah,
You're in it.
ultra type shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I went to the second division in Switzerland.
Is that when you left Italy?
Yes.
So what year is this now? How old
This
are you?
is in 2000 and I want to say 10. I am probably 20 years old at the time.
Sure.
I got a different agent who was not doing the right thing. I will call him out.
Damn.
Ulisse Savini. That guy is he actually writes sometimes for calciomercato.com and whatnot. He does some fishy business.
It's a
as an
horrible
agent.
publication.
It is, right? There you go.
Garbage.
So, exactly. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So he guided me towards Bellinzona, which was a second division team at that time, or first division.
Near Milan.
And then I went on loan to Wohlen, which is in the German part of Switzerland, which is in the Challenge League in the second division. Long story short, man, I realized that it was a completely funky transfer, a lot of irregularities that I'm not going to get into details, but these guys were stealing money from me.
Okay.
Wow.
And I basically made a phone call when I realized that was happening to my friend Sadi Bousila, who's here from New York, Senegalese, who had a player in the Red Bull, Bouna Koundoul, who was a goalkeeper, another family friend of ours. And I said, yo, Sadi, you got connections in the MLS, dude? Because I'm trying to get out of Europe because things aren't going well. He made a call to the Chicago Fire, said, Gabe, you go into preseason with Chicago. I was like, sounds good. So I go to preseason with
Get
the
a
Chicago
contract in a
Fire.
place with antitrust laws. Nice.
And after the preseason, they signed me to the MLS contract in Chicago. So I played in the MLS for a year. I have my opinion on U.S. soccer, on the MLS. Growing up, I think it's extremely political. I don't have like the best words to say about it, to be honest with you. Like, I think the MLS,
especially 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Now I see things they're taking steps in the right direction.
Giuseppe Rossi, basically, I mean, he took a huge shit on it.
Yeah.
He has this podcast that Chris Italia was telling me about. I listened to it. It's interesting. He just started it, and anyway, he was talking about how he hated his time at Real Salt Lake just because like he found the culture to be a little off-putting.
Exactly, the culture. That's the word, man. The culture in the
word
locker
everyone
rooms
uses.
and everything is
yeah.
And when you live
How would you
it on,
describe like compared to Italy?
cliquey, collegey,
very American.
Frat kind of like
Mean Girls.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Yeah.
And in Europe, it was much more like less bullshit. You know, your talent or your performance will dictate where you belong, and it was just like more eye to eye communication. You know what I mean? And I thought here it was more like, you know, what college did you go to? Oh, yeah. And then, you know, this guy, oh, because you were the political shit that we know happens. And it happens at a youth level and it happens at the pro level. And we saw it right now in the World Cup over there with this whole Berhalter, Claudio Reyna situation, this
local little New Jersey cliquey thing.
Yes.
Just
and it's a cancer.
Some soccer mom shit. That was hilarious, dude. It was just, what was it again? Berhalter was the coach. Excluded Gio Reyna.
Then the mom started throwing a hissy fit and basically was like, we're not riding on the bus with you guys after a game or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Really kind of like bullshit, you know what I mean? Stuff that shouldn't be involved in soccer. And it kind of like the soccer mom and like, you know, bullshit thing in American soccer, which happens in youth levels, you translate to the professional level. At least when I was playing, I'm assuming that things have gotten way better now, you know, but I really see American soccer as something that, you know, has to kind of humble up and really start taking pages from other countries that have done it the right way. And
it'll probably always be a little different, you know. The footballing culture in Brazil is very different to what it is in Italy, and it's just kind of what it is. I'm sure anything evolves over time and can evolve over time, but I think, you know, it probably evolves in the vacuum of like of what the thing is, you know. We're talking before about like just stand up in Brazil, like you know, you could take influence from other shit, but North American stand up is the best, absolutely, bar none. You know, stand up comedy in Brazil is like kind of up and coming, kind of, you know, maybe like, you know, soccer in the United States is, you know, and it's gonna kind of grow into its own thing. It's gonna be influenced by
time is the only thing.
Yeah, but it's gonna be influenced, you know, in the case of stand up, it's gonna be influenced by by the dialect and like the tones and the social context down there. You know, the football is gonna be influenced by you know, the school system here and what high school is and you know, what club teams are in place. The fact that it's a huge country with like a very small number of pro teams per capita, and as a result, you know, like professional like youth setups. Yeah, it's a lot of localized shit. You know, it's never going to be England. England has a ton of like, you know, the infrastructure in England is fantastic. You know, small country, tons of teams, tons of clubs. And if you're good, you can get into a youth setup. It doesn't even have to be like a Premier League team. Excuse me. It could be like a 6th-tier team. They have a youth setup. You get in and you try to, you know, work your way up. It's always going to be a little different and influenced by like the culture of the place, I think, you know. But
what I see with soccer, especially in New York, growing up, I'm sure you remember, you had to like find games or be on a team. Now, we were talking about earlier, there's apps, there's parks, there's AstroTurf fields everywhere. There's concrete fields. So now maybe in 10 years, New York players or just Northeast players are going to be even better. And now the opposite. Now with stand-up, you go to a place like Miami, there's all these little comedy places opening up. You go to Bogota, Colombia, there's all these little comedy places up. So they're all, you know, maybe might take another 10 years, but you need that quantity. You need that and that experience. You know what I mean? And every day, like in the morning and the night, and not driving 3-4 hours to find a game.
The thing kind of develops where, you know, it's able to be fostered, whatever the thing is. Generally, you know. Yeah. You were saying, Alex, we'll wrap on this. It's been a good chat. I really enjoyed getting to know you. I know, Alex, I appreciate the connection, Alex. I know we got to fuck around a little less, but But
no, it's
this-
all right.
this is
When you
cool.
guys started doing all the Italian, he's giving you
Yeah,
a
oh, yeah.
We do the
Yeah.
Italian talk. I was just sitting here thinking about my vegan chicken parm earlier. And my aranciata, whatever the fuck, aranciata, whatever. Aranciata, my bad.
Yeah, the V-Spot. Shout out the V-Spot.
Sometimes
dude.
I wanted to say, like, because I used to play for, like, Brooklyn Italians, but it's very different. But there's a lot of things you mentioned, like, talking about in Italy. I'm like, oh, that kind of reminds me when I was playing with Nunzio and what was that guy's name, that main guy at Brooklyn Italians? I forgot it. I feel bad I don't remember because I smoked a lot of weed. But anyway.
It'll do that.
But yeah,
that's-
I'm glad I made this connection, man.
No, I appreciate it very much. You've always been good to me. I mean, I value you as as an acquaintance here, as a friend here. But this was cool. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, he's like,
well, no,
he's like this
I-
fucking scumbag. over here. I'm like,
being realist. I don't want I don't overstep.
Yeah.
You've been good to me. I
haven't tried to kiss you yet.
I appreciate
but,
it. Right,
I'm
yeah.
not
You haven't
Gaddafi.
reached exactly.
No, you and I will continue to be around each other, you know, in stand up and such, you know. So
Don't say hi to me in any of the clubs.
No, I appreciate you giving us the floor. You were a good third mic to have here. I appreciate it. As a guy who can never shut the fuck up, I understand how difficult and valuable it is to let the conversation.
Of course, no, I'm enjoying it. I was just like, this is cool.
Yeah, no, you're funny, dude. Fucking the V-Spot. Check out the V-Spot in Brooklyn. I still have not. I will while I'm here. I'm very much looking forward to that. Vegan chicken parm. If they can make vegan chicken parm, I'm very confident in whatever, you know, vegan chicharrones, whatever it is you guys make. I don't know, but I mean, listen, I'm gonna be honest. I see vegan chicken parm, and I think it's very difficult to say, oh, fuck a V-Spot. I should teach you how to find the G-spot, bro. What the fuck, vegan chicken parm? It's not a real. But you know, it looked legit.
17 years open, man. It's not bad. It's American.
Was the chicken
Italian.
parm from the V-Spot?
Not the one I ate today. I wanted to give a place a try. It was okay.
Okay.
Ours is better.
Give them no publicity. Yeah, don't do that.
No, I don't.
But you've talked about how you actually do vegan chicken parm.
Yeah,
It's-
what they lacked is like they don't use the Italian seasoning and they don't use certain basil that I was like, it was a more American than ours.
Well, anyway, yeah.
Who cares?
All right, the V-Spot, G-Spot joke bomb. That's fire. It's just off the dome.
It's your V spot. Also St. Mark's.
Should be a good menu item. Yeah, St. Mark's Comedy
Everyone
Club.
come
Been
check it
very
out.
good to me. You guys should get the V-Spot G-Spot. The V-Spot's G-Spot. It's a drink maybe.
Okay.
It's a G-Spot. It's got,
All right.
You come to the V-Spot and you try the
Yeah.
G-Spot,
Come to
and it makes you open your legs up.
and we'll hit your V spot.
We
hit the V-spot.
Hit the V-Spot.
And no,
We're spitballing here. This
yeah,
isn't.
it's getting a little weird, but it's fine. It's okay.
I'm trying to find it.
The whole thing went great.
Trying to.
Listen, I eat the food and I still fucking.
Trying to make it work.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make trying to just drive it home. There's gotta be a way to make this make this joke work. It's horrible.
The reason we even have some Italian options is because it's me and my brother. We're obviously Colombian, New Yorker, American, white boys. But then our business partner is Italian Croatian guy, but he speaks Italian. He's so that's where we get the little Italian American influence.
I think I got it. The V-Spot is the vegan place. You open the G-Spot, and
Okay.
it's carnivore.
Okay, wow, all right.
Carnivore. You know.
Listen,
They're just really homophobic, and they're like, "Listen, you fucking want to go to the V-Spot? Those guys don't even know where to find the fucking G-Spot. Come to the G-Spot. We'll help you fucking hit the G-Spot. We'll fucking make your brows all grow bigger. Fucking eat meat."
I've hit some G spots in the V spot bathrooms. I don't know if that helps late night. If you know what I'm saying, after hours.
All right, so
It's getting weird again.
So you were football. So you were saying, I want to end on this. You think that New York? I was saying before that I think there's a really good, like bed of talent that comes out of New York. You guys kind of like,
More Jersey.
Kind of a bit back
Should
on
be
it.
New York.
I kind of said, all right, all same thing, same general area. I know that's like not, whatever. It's a very outsider thing to do. But from my perspective, I thought, there was. I figured like, it's all like
Just
the
this
it's
guy
all the
right
New York
here.
Red Bull. And
Literally just him.
There was a kid, Devin Yao. Do you remember Devin?
Oh, Devin. Oh,
Devin's
my God. I
another
forgot
one.
about Devin, yeah.
Baller. Man.
well,
Yeah, he used to visit.
Nice.
So do you think? Again, so in my mind, this is all like, New York Red Bull country. You know what I'm saying? In that sense, like they all kind of came out of that.
I don't know why
system.
they don't
But-
pick up these urban inner city kids.
Well, you were
more.
saying you think there's an opportunity for like, a lot of kids to hypothetically go pro. Where does that hypothesis kind of come from? What is leading you to?
For me personally, because it's like
Is it the technique and the shit you're seeing? Because it feels like none of them have any of the things that we talked about with Gabby, where he was able to kind of get a push and have a little bit of good luck to kind of go along with the other elements of the cocktail that are necessary, like the psychosis and the talent.
I'll give my quick little response. I do agree the discipline is tough here. There's a lot of temptations, but your average New Yorker, the parents are from another country. They grew up with soccer, and they're playing like when we playing soccer at Pier 40. Every game was the World Cup. You're playing with all these different styles, people from that country, even a guy from Texas too. So you're getting a Florida guy, you're getting a dude from Italy, you're getting a group of Brazilians. So you really learn that, what's that word? That the basics, but like with a little flair. I can't explain it. You kind of know. It's like you traveled, but you didn't travel.
Yeah, it's
you know
as
what I mean?
opposed to maybe playing in Wisconsin
Exactly.
or something.
So that's why I
You
think
get
they need
more,
something to capitalize on there that they don't.
You're saying it doesn't feel like American soccer.
At all, it's
what
not
you're
at all.
saying.
New York's not, it doesn't even feel like America. We're
No,
not really
no,
America.
no.
We're like our own thing.
exactly it.
You can make the same argument about like Miami and California, which are two, I think, kind of hotbeds of football in particular. More California. Texas, to an extent, actually does very well, but Texas is.
But even
it's a very similar culture to what is breeding.
But even in
out of
Cali,
California.
you'll meet a Brazilian, but you'll meet a Mexican, Guatemalan. You'll meet like 6 different countries.
It's not
but
as big of a melting pot.
yeah,
here.
the melting pot here, you're literally on the field with 11 different fucking countries. It's crazy. 20 countries.
It seems to be kind of a theme in
What
a
about
lot
you,
of
Adam?
urban areas
Yeah.
where you just don't have the you're playing in the city and that's it. You play in your town, you play in the area, you play in the neighborhood, and there's no infrastructure. It was that thing we were talking about at the start of the pod in Brazil.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and for me, in terms of the New York soccer scene and whatnot, and being back here and also being active in it because I'm coaching kids here and seeing 6 years away and seeing different things, I see progress. I see little goals in certain basketball courts, which to me was something that was an essential. Like every basketball court in the projects or playground in New York
Should have
2 goals as well. And it's like, and just that will motivate kids to just, be curious. And another thing, I need to see the U.S. national team represent what America really is in terms of when you look at that 22-man roster, like, can we get more mixes? Can we get, like, I feel like it's still too white suburban, some black kids, and throw in a Gomez there, you know what I mean, or a Gonzalez.
Well, it's whoever makes it, so it's about getting.
Yeah, but whoever makes it is because of the system, giving those guys more of an opportunity.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, right? Like you're not going to do it through affirmative action. You just can't, right? Because it's sports, it's meritocracy. So it's like, how do you get kids from like more pockets of the country to at least have an opportunity? I feel like the numbers have grown substantially. Like the infrastructure compared to what it was when you were playing.
No, it has
astronomically better. Yeah. I'm seeing shit like that in Montreal too, which has Montreal's a real hotbed of soccer in the Canadian context. The Canadian men's national team's doing better. A lot of that is because of people from the province of Quebec. There are also a lot of people who don't ever wind up doing anything, who slip through the cracks, who could definitely play professionally. Guys I see, guys who I've seen kind of that I've kind of played with or against, partially due to the shit you're talking about. In like schools now, basketball courts have little goals. That's a thing that wasn't around when I was in elementary school.
Even just the bars now. There's so many bars playing soccer now that you're just letting them see a little more, and then they're also learning. Oh shit! Look how Inter plays. Look how Manchester United plays.
Exactly.
And they could, you learn a little. I remember when I started getting better at soccer, it was already too late. I had played it, but I was like around 21, 22. I started smoking weed, watching, and paying attention to the tactics, and I analyzed it, and I'm like, damn, I play like such an idiot. I don't play smart at all. Right. And then I watched them and like, but only because
I should actually try that. Smoke weed and then watch football and be like, I got it all wrong.
Yeah. Watch yourself.
I know why it never worked out.
Dude, smoke and watch yourself. You'll be like, what the fuck have I been doing?
I suck.
Yeah, you're like, I'm horrible.
Or maybe you got inspired that day and you look like Messi or something.
I've listened to myself doing stand up after smoking. It's a real fucking fine line where you're like, you find shit funnier, but you're also like paranoid. You're like, oh my god, this is brutal. I'm dogging it. I'm fucking not working anywhere near hard enough.
You think you killed? You listen to the tape. You go, what the fuck was that?
yeah. Fucking Mike doesn't pick up the audience.
Yeah.
You hear guys say that.
Oh yeah.
The acoustics are all
Somebody
off,
says the acoustics, they bombed.
Oh,
the acoustics were off. Like, you bombed, bro. Just tell
me
you
the
bombed.
ceilings were high. The laughter didn't. It didn't echo and bounce. Yeah. Anyway, it's cool that you're getting involved in the game here locally. That you're trying to give back. I just spat on you. That's my cue to.
I didn't even see that.
My cue to end it. Fuck, dude. Talking about the
We're gonna go. We gotta play
the G spot and fucking spitting and fucking.
No, you know what we do? We should go
kissing.
We should go play pickup one day, right? We'll get a couple other guys. I know a couple good players. We'll bring Marcelo and them, and then we go eat at.
Whoever.
The V-spot,
I want to bring the Jamaicans. Well, I'm gonna have
wine and oil.
We'll bring him out of prison just for the fucking plot. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'll have to go to the G spot alone because I told you this a year ago. I don't want to be hosted.
We would
by
hope you hit the G spot alone.
Yeah, exactly. Go
there. Did I say
alone.
the G spot? I meant to say the.
Yeah, go there alone.
I meant to say the V. Fuck, it's fucking. My brain is cooked now. No, I want to hit the V spot alone.
All right. Wow.
And not tell you and just send you a pic and be like, like a secret shopper. You know?
Yes.
You were saying you were worried that I was gonna walk in like without giving you a heads up, and like your cousin's gonna greet you and be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm afraid like the
Who's your cousin? What does he sound like? You fucking made me laugh. You were talking with someone with.
Well,
with
one
Brian.
of my cousins died, unfortunately, but my whole family's so ghetto, bro. People have no idea. They don't.
You talked about this a year ago, but is
Yeah.
it your cousin who got out of?
Yeah, he just got out, and he's great and he's fun, but
He's the one. If I walked in, what would he say?
He'll be like, yo, what up? He's mad
Hey,
cool.
yo, what up?
Yeah, but it's a different. It's not like, hey, well,
Well, I think that's.
What's up? Oh, my cousin. Yo, you want to smoke in the back? Like he's like that.
That's
style.
charming. No,
Yeah.
I want to have that experience a little. But yeah, whatever you want to do after, I'll have vegan chicken parm if that's what's offered to me. I'm not rude. But that's the thing. I know you would try to host the shit out of us.
I will.
And I will not. So I will go alone by my own volition and just be like, sorry, gotcha.
I'm like an Italian grandma, like eat more. Like that's
cool.
where you'd be used to it.
I'm game. No, whoever wants to come out, bring the Jamaicans, whoever. I've heard a lot about them. But no, this was cool to meet you, man. Thanks for hooking this up, Alex.
No problem, bro.
Do you have anything that you want to plug, or you sound like you're kind of just doing your own thing with the coaching and everything? But
yeah, I mean, not necessarily plugging anything. I'm very, discreet on social media. I prefer to keep things a bit, mysterious, to be honest. But I'm coaching for a team called Two Bridges, and it's going to turn into a USL team, Brooklyn FC. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool.
And
That's
I also
fire.
coach in the mornings with Cronus
Brooklyn.
Elite, which we coach, top talent in New York, in Long Island. So
maybe you'll wind up back in the States for longer stretches then.
No, I'm here. I'm here for the long run now. So
we'll see how it works.
yeah.
Cool, man. You, St. Mark's Comedy Club, the
Up
V-Spot.
and coming place, V-Spot, whatever. I don't know, man. You guys are the shit. Thank you guys for
Thank you
having
guys.
me, and I'm glad this worked out. So
appreciate it, man.
Toss a like on the video if you made it to the
think?
end. Hit sub if you're new. I'm supposed to say all that. It's in my contract. It's an obligation. I'm Sam Adamo. If you're listening to this, give it a rating. It helps boost us in the algo. That's it. Appreciate you guys. I don't know when this is coming up, but hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, alla prossima. Ciao.
Grazie.
Ciao.